That's right. We are back here at DS9 at 9ish, on time as always. Covering another episode of Star Trek DS9. This is what episode number? I know it's season 5. It is episode number 8. Yes. I don't have a banner. I'm not prepared.
No, we're missing our producer tonight.
Producer Dave is at the Leaf game, and he's not even a fan of the Leafs. He's a flamer. But that's okay. We won't hold that against him.
Sometimes you just want to see them lose.
Right. And maybe tonight they're playing Seattle tonight. So the first ever Seattle Kraken home away game here. Home game at the for the Leafs against the Kraken. So Dave's taking it all in. But we're taking in the episode Things Past. It's all about Odo regretting the fact that he let 3 innocent people get murdered. And I guess he suppressed it. And he gets Cisco, Dax, and Garrick, of all people, to come along for the ride and kind of relive this traumatic event that occurred 7 years ago. Join as always here. We have our Bajoran workers, Kevin and Ashley Millard. Appropriate that they found time in their day away from the ore processing camp to join us to talk about this episode. How are you guys tonight?
Good. We just finished our soup. We're ready to go.
Well, that's good. Soup. You get your soup. As long as there's no Cardassians around, I think you can eat that soup. I'm sure you ate that soup in peace. Okay. Also joined by Jaemeel Robinson, the Pop Funko master himself. Jaemeel, how are you?
I'm all right. I was working in Quarks, aka Davan's podcast, X-rated, and man, one strip of Latinum. Wow. Jeez, that's it.
Was it a slip or a strip?
Wasn't it a slip, or was?
I think it was a slip.
Slip. Well,
he
gave me the slip.
Gave you the slip here over on X-rated, a sister podcast of this network. Over on Locutors of Trek.
Well, Locutors of Trek is separate, like Super Mater Brothers is from Live Long and Podcast.
Right, but they're all cousin podcasts, and they all come together, to form one great podcast community.
Yes,
a family,
a family of podcasting, kind of like this episode where we have Odo having to deal with his demons, and him having to lead on his family, like Garrick and Dax. And okay, we're watching this episode. There's one thing I wanted to bring up where Dax has my favorite line maybe of this episode, where they're like, basically this episode is Hot Tub Time Machine. Right? Yeah. Where they go back in time, but they're in different bodies. I guess in Hot Tub Time Machine, they're in their own bodies, but they look like the current version of themselves to each other, but to everyone else, they look like the past version of, actually, in this case, different people. They look like Bajorans. And at one point, Garrick asks that question. He's like, "Well, why can if I'm a Bajoran, why can you see me as a Cardassian?" And they ask Dax, the science officer, and she just says something to the effect of, "I cannot process this anymore," or something.
I'm all out of speculations.
I'm all out of speculations. What a line! It's delivered beautifully.
That's like Worf. We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it. It's kind of like, I'm dumb and I have nothing to say about this. I know I'm the science officer. I know I'm the one you're supposed to go to for this, but look, I got nothing. So all right, this episode's basically a character study of Odo, and basically at the beginning of the episode, everyone's kind of going like, "Oh no, you're the best, you're the greatest during the occupation. You straddled both sides. You were able to get the Cardassians and the Bajorans to like you, and you were fair but firm. You were the sheriff. You were you were the law, and you did your job. And you did it well." But then we start digging into what Odo really did and how he had to basically side more with the Cardassians than the Bajorans based on the position that he was in. And that was always something that it's funny how when we look back at it, we put rose-colored glasses on, but the truth is always a lot more sinister than the way we remember history. Kevin and Ashley, is that how you kind of see this episode? It's kind of like this is the reality of history, and sometimes we like to forget about that and glorify certain people's roles.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely what it's about. It's about like Odo. Everybody looks at Odo as this paragon of virtue, right? He's all about justice and all about, but he fucked up. He made a mistake. And I think the reason that they end up where they are is because Odo has always felt guilty about that. It wears on him.
Well, I think that's kind of the point too, is like for a real psycho that, that wouldn't wear on them. I think that does show his humanity. That does show Odo's the fact that he was living through this occupation. He was in a position of power. And even though he tried his best most of the time to do the right thing, there was times where he absolutely could not or did not and chose not to. And at least he regrets it. Jaemeel, is that kind of how you read this episode as well?
Yep, it's the telltale heart we're seeing.
Nevermore?
Well, that's the Raven. The telltale heart. Just imagine like under the floorboards, there's a dead body there. And he keeps looking at it. And he knows it's there, everyone else doesn't, and it's just wearing at him. And that's where this episode takes us. We're seeing him come to grips and seeing a situation that he knows what's going to happen, but he just can't. He doesn't want to admit it, but at the same time, he can never escape it.
Yeah, I think. There we go. I think that's appropriate. Like, I think that's kind of, I think a lot of stories deal with this, where basically if something traumatic has happened to her, you feel guilt in a very strong way that you can never outrun that. You can never basically put that behind a brick wall, and that wall will never come crumbling down. It will come crumbling down at some point. But coming also to the podcast, guys, we have Worf, son of Mogh. Worf, how are you?
I am Worf, son of Mogh.
How are you, Worf?
I am very well. How are you?
I'm good. Are you ready to talk about this episode, season 5, episode 8? Things Past. You had a minor part in this episode.
Was my part good?
As good as a Worf part could be.
So excellent. Yes, I'm ready to review this episode.
Oh,
Worf,
thank you,
son of
Worf.
Mogh.
Well, so we have a comment here, Worf, son of Mogh, from Dave Mater, and he says Odo is a war criminal. Do you agree, Worf?
Yes, and not a particularly good security officer. Not diligent.
Do you think Odo should have been stricter, more harsh on some of the, you when you first came to the station, we saw in the beginning of the season, last season, sorry, you said to Odo, you gotta arrest people, you gotta, kick some ass, take some names, and Odo wouldn't do that. He had his methods. Did these methods come back to bite him in this episode?
Should have banned every Cardassian from the station.
That would have been a start. Although I don't know if that would have worked out for him.
There was only one, but it needed to be done.
Right, Garrick, who's in this episode.
Yes.
You're not a fan of Garrick.
No.
No.
Why
Okay.
Why lie when you can tell the truth? It makes no sense.
It does make no sense. I mean, yeah, just get to the point. Worf,
Garrick is
you're a
also
man.
a war criminal.
Right. But he would like to be remembered
Kira
as
is also a war criminal.
Hello, that Dave is at the Leafs game listening to our podcast.
Captain Cisco is also a war criminal.
Captain Cisco. Okay, who in this episode is not a war criminal? Dax.
Who's Dax?
Dax was not a war criminal in this particular lifetime. And
Right,
neither was
Jadzia.
Worf.
But
Yes.
Ezri, definitely a war criminal.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Worf, son of Mogh. We're moving on to Dave also says here, Bashir is still not a changeling. I disagree. I think he's been a changeling all along since the beginning of season 5. And it's scandalous, but it's true. Okay, so all right. One of the things I do really like about this episode is that we get to see some Terok Nor. We get to see what it was like. So basically, apparently they had no lights during the occupation. Lighting was expensive. So I guess they just went with the glow of the Bajoran moons. That's what lit up the station. I'm confused. But what's up with that? Does anyone have a comment about why everything is lit so darkly here in the past? It's only 7 years before.
Blow it up on moon.
Right. It's 7 years before, and it's evil. It's an evil place and an evil time. So therefore it must be dark, right?
That's it.
You should have banned every Cardassian off the station. Terok Nor.
Terok Nor. Okay, well, I don't know if Dukat was going to do that. He was in charge.
God.
This is the best episode ever.
But it is interesting because we have here with Garrick, Dave saying he gets the best name tag ever. Elam Garrick, former Cardassian oppressor. Garrick he didn't like that too much. He would have preferred, Elam Garrick, Cardassian spy, master spy, maybe even. He
Liar and a thief.
But Worf, his septal capillaries were burst. Like when he's bleeding from the head. Like I think we need to show some sympathy here toward Elam Garrick.
A Klingon has backup capillaries.
This is so good.
He thought he was injured.
Yes.
So right. So he might manifest a tumor of some kind.
So if they die in the past, they die in the present.
Is this the Matrix?
Maybe.
It kind of feels
Like
a little
the
bit.
Matrix.
Yeah, it's pretty. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe the
Or they'll
Matrix.
have to unplug them.
It's the goo matrix. It's from the
Goo Matrix.
So it's goo matrix.
It is. It's not the goo lake this time. It's just the goo matrix.
Yeah, this episode definitely has some similarities. I just love that Dave has enough time to post at least 4 comments.
Well, it is the Leafs.
Well, it's
To
a
play
close
without
game,
honor.
Um,
There will be no glory on the ice.
I love that
Until-
generally men go to like family functions or out to these things and they have like secret earphones with like the game playing, and he's at a game and he's got like a secret earphone playing the podcast.
he's got an earbud in.
He's got an earbud in listening to podcasts.
Yeah. And it's out of nowhere. He there's a quiet in the Leaf game, and he goes, "Elam Garrick was a war criminal." It's good. But he also so we get to see like some of the backstories here of who they're I guess like inhabiting here. So we find out that Garrick is an artist, and he's from Macantha province, and he says he must have been incorrigible. No, incorrigible. What does he say?
Incorrigible.
Incorrigible.
No courage.
And his name is Jalur Gaeta, and the constable is, and then Odo figures it out, a bookkeeper, 46 years old. He has a wife and 2 sons from Macantha province, and his name is Timor Landi. Sounds like a Finnish guy. Some of the Bajoran names
Who's Finnish?
have a Finnish ring.
Yeah, the Bajoran finish.
Right. Okay, so why doesn't Odo at this point tell them what's going on? Like, he waits quite a while. That's when we have Quark kind of come in here and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna put you to work working at my bar." And we get to kind of see what Quark was like during the occupation, which I don't think we've ever got to see before here.
Quark is it seems to me that Quark is really influenced by his surroundings. The type of person he's going to be is going to be he's going to fit in with his surroundings.
Mhm.
He's adaptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think no matter what Quark finds himself in, he's going to try and find a way to like you wouldn't want to be in a situation like this with Quark. He will turn you.
Yeah.
He's not
he'll find
very
a way to
loyal.
exploit whatever situation he's in. He'll find a way to exploit it.
He'll exploit as much as he can get away with.
Yeah.
Worf, do you concur that Quark is not to be trusted?
A liar and a thief.
That's the Ferengi.
And he pours a very poor prune juice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the least he could do is keep some fresh prune juice on station for you, but he just gives you the replicated stuff.
I said chilled.
He did. And it's too cold.
On the Enterprise, I was considered quite humorous.
Dave Vader saying, "I must be incorrigible." All right.
Dave Vader has courage.
Dave Vader has courage. Dave Vader, would Dave Vader make a good worker in Quark's establishment? He is, it's 12 hours of work, 2 5-minute breaks.
One slip of Latinum.
What are you really going to do in the 5 minutes?
I know, right? Like, there's no smoke breaks, in the 24th century here. I don't think so. I mean, really, what are you gonna do?
They didn't.
Sharpen
They
your
weren't
teeth.
smart enough to form a union.
Right.
Oh my god, don't bring me back to the Union episode.
I will always bring them back.
He's still, like Quark, even though he's still kind of nice, like he's not nice, but like he's pleasant, even though he's basically, doing this forced labor amongst these Bajorans. He's kind of a bad guy. I mean, most of the people in any sort of position of authority here are really not great people. And the thing is this completely true to reality, or is it kind of the way Odo sees that time period? Like, how should we read this episode, Jaemeel?
That's you bring up a very good point. Are we considering that the Gul Dukat that we are introduced to, the looking for a friend poet, I shouldn't say poet, but like looking for a friend, trying to do what's best for the Bajorans, is that really Gul Dukat, or is that Odo's perception of him? And I think it is more on the latter rather than the former. And which to me is a lot more interesting, to think that Odo felt that Gul Dukat isn't all bad, especially at this point, and he felt that there was the person was redeemable. He was trying to do the very best in a very difficult situation, which I think rings true to Odo's character. So
Okay.
I'm not 100% convinced that is what Odo thinks, though, because Gul Dukat, all the way through Deep Space Nine, continues to say that he was just trying to do what was best for the Bajorans. That is propaganda that he is constantly saying. So we have no idea what actually happened with Gul Dukat and anyone behind closed doors, because these are Odo's memories. So this is probably what he's imagining went on. And he knows Gul Dukat, everything that comes out of his mouth is trash. Like, he doesn't tell the truth. He spins things for himself to make himself look better. And he said multiple times through the whole series that he was just trying to do his best for the Bajorans. He was keeping them safe. But he wasn't. And we know that. So I don't know if Odo really believes that he was redeemable, but he knows that that's shit that he used to say all the time.
Yeah,
Or
I think
maybe it's something he believed at the time.
It's possible, but this is Odo's memories, not what was really happening at the time. It's possible that Odo believed that at the time, for sure.
Okay.
which would make sense because it seems like for sure that even Dukat believes his own bullshit sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well,
and so-
Dukat believes his own bullshit all of the
Yeah.
time.
right, but he like sometimes I think he knows it's bullshit, but the majority of the time I think he just completely believes it. And he's just writing it, and he you know, until it's not until Dukat gets called on it that he starts to actually think about it and go, oh, maybe you're right. But then then he's in denial, you know.
Yeah.
So I think when he's in that position of authority and power, he just kind of goes unchecked, and that's like vastly what we see here during this time period in Terra Nor. Every episode they go back to this time period where whether it's Kira's mom or any of those episodes, he's always like just drunk on authority.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of what you get here. Worf, would you be drunk on authority in the same spot that Dukat is in?
A Klingon can hold his blood wine. Kira's mother is also a war criminal.
But you see the same thing when he starts the cult too. He gets drunk on that power, on the control over everyone. When he starts the cult on Empok Nor later on in the series.
Right. Dave has a comment here. I only work at Quarks to obtain chemicals to make devices to assassinate Dukat.
Oh, so it was Dave that tried to assassinate Dukat.
Yes, because that was like the fourth attempt.
Yeah, Dave, do better next time.
Dave is the war criminal.
Do not try.
Dave's fault that those innocent people were murdered.
It sounds like it. I think if try harder next time, and maybe you'll succeed. I mean, reach for the stars. That's all those things.
And they will sing songs of your tales.
That's right. Nobody sings songs. Nobody sings songs for people who failed. You must succeed.
No.
It's true.
Terrible songs.
Worf, why is it that all Klingon songs end in tragedy of some sort?
Some end in battle. Like this little ditty. Everyone came up to
All right, thank you for that little ditty. Okay, so with this episode, Kevin and Ashley, what do you make of like the way like is Cisco and Dax and Garrick truly there, or is that again like I know they're kind of like in this Matrix type idea, but sometimes like when we got to the end of the episode, I kind of had like a thought in my head where it's like, oh, was that truly them helping him out throughout this episode, or was it kind of just memories, or like some sort of projection of Odo's, like Odo was kind of using their brains? Do you know what I mean? Like, because like they would disappear and then they would come back, and then is that how you kind of saw it too, or is it like, or Cisco, Dax, and Garrick actually there?
I don't think they were actually there, and it wasn't purely memories either. It was this phenomenon that linked them together. And because this is what Odo was thinking about right before this happened, when they were singing his praises about how fair he was during the occupation, that this started to play out. And that's why when they tried to escape and then they reset back, that's why that was happening, was because Odo knew that's not how it really happened. So it had to snap back so it could play out as it happened.
Yeah, and they're like, I think they're experiencing a form of the Great Link.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't really change what happened. So they're not really there.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, okay. So we all saw that kind of the same way. Worf, who's that guy helping you clean you up?
Mr. Hom.
Oh. Seems like a nice guy.
Doesn't say much.
No. But he wouldn't dare give you a non-chilled glass of prune juice.
No. And they are tall glasses. As he is a very tall man.
Right. Yeah. Right. He wouldn't want to mess with him. Kind of like you wouldn't want to mess with Dukat here in this episode. He's clever. He has.
Do I smell a piece of rotting Forshack in here?
You might. I don't know what's going on over there. But what I'm trying to say about Dukat is he's a worthy foe. Okay. Trying to do a segue here. I'm trying to figure out where we go here. Can we talk a little bit about
what happens next in the plot?
Okay, well, my video file is not cooperating with me. One sec.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So, just before, so they end up in, Terek Nor, and they're kind of grasping at the situation that they're in, and before they can kind of figure out who they are, Gul shows up, or a representative Gul and takes Dax away. Garrick tries to intervene, and in doing so is struck by the attendant, and is knocked over. Dax gets led away, and we learn that Garrick has access to the control pad, took it off of the guard, and that's when he's able to get the name information for the workers, the 3 workers that they are. Odo reveals that he knows who these people are because it's a memory, and they start realizing that there might be some inconsistencies in what Odo said versus what they're experiencing right now. I think we're caught up. Jeff, this is where we're at.
Okay. So then what ends up happening after that is Dax gets taken to Dukat's office. And he needs a friend.
Did you find her fear uncharacteristic? Like, she's trembling and
She was playing that up.
okay.
I felt like this entire time when I was watching the Dax with Dukat stuff, I was like, this was written for Kira. And then, like, they couldn't use Kira, because she was, just like on leave or whatever. I felt like this whole thing was supposed to be for Kira. And so, but they used Dax instead. And she's good, and like you get a little different insight, but they loved using Kira in this exact role with Dukat, especially talking about the occupation, and everything about it was just unusual, kind of, to see Dax in this role. And I kind of like it because it's different, but at the same time, like, she just kind of she doesn't let Dukat bother her as much as Kira, but at the same time, like, you're right, like, she kind of like forces those emotions in her performance, because I think that's what the script called for. Does that make sense? Did you guys read that the same way?
It's a good performance.
Yeah.
I think Dax is smart enough to know that when she's taken to Ducats to play her role as this Bajoran that is brought to, and because as soon as she finds a spot to knock him out and get away, she does, and she's back to being Dax. So she was playing that role.
Right. So
She was acting.
Ducat says that, bad manners are the fault of the parent, not the child. And, and then he says his biggest problem, guys, is that he's too generous, too forgiving. And that's when he gets hit right across the head by Dax.
Right.
And she says, and your ego is too big as well,
Does it seem like he could have went to know him is to love him? Like it was coming close to that.
Yes.
Also, Ducat loves, like, Mark Alimo loves using, like, when he says the word heart, it's heart, or like he always says it a certain way. And I always enjoy it every time he says it. I'm like, I eat it up, because like he really, like, it's very Shakespearean, and I always enjoy it.
Klingon has two hearts.
Right. They do.
Did you know on the Enterprise I was considered quite amusing?
Right.
Take this Klingon nook, for example. Where does a Klingon keep his leftovers?
Keep his what?
Ziploc!
That's maybe why they thought you were so funny. They didn't understand you, so they just laughed along anyway.
Ziploc.
I don't see Cisco, I don't see him having the same reaction.
Riker would find it very amusing.
He told us at the beginning of the show, he's not Picard. Speaking of which, Worf, question for you. Who do you like more as a superior officer, Picard or Cisco?
Picard.
Why? Is he nicer?
Captain
He did
Cisco
yell.
Is a war criminal.
Right. But Picard said you were...
Get away with murder, though. Like, literally.
Picard called you a coward.
Yes, but if he was any other man, I would have killed him where he stood.
That's true. That's the ultimate show.
Which I guess must include Captain Cisco.
Right. Cisco called.
Therefore, Jean-Luc Picard is my favorite superior officer. Okay, unless you count the Riker.
The Riker. Well, the Riker. Well, yeah, he helped you out in a few jams.
He knows how to have a glorious Klingon time. And he also considers me quite amusing.
That's true. He likes, and he'll play poker with you.
He will.
Can't say that of Cisco or Picard. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe Riker is the best superior officer.
Take the Klingon joke, for example. What does a Klingon hairstylist often say?
What?
It is a good day to die.
Boo! Boo!
It's like a Klingon dad joke.
I like that one.
Oh wait, yeah, Worf, you are a Klingon dad.
Yes.
Barely.
He can still tell dad jokes, though.
Alexander Roshenko, I don't know if he would have found that joke funny.
He wouldn't get it.
Alexander is not funny.
No, he is not. He's very serious. Every time you see him, he's always upset about something. Okay, so then Dax breaks out Cisco, Garrick, and Odo out of the holding cell because she's just gone away from Ducat. They're hitting him over the head. Then this happens throughout the episode where like they like they're like, okay, we're gonna get out of this, and you still think it's real, like a real world situation. You think they're actually back in time, but they're not. They're in their minds. But so like when they break out of the cell, and then they're they're going after Ducat's personal runabout, and that's their whole plan. And they run into some obstacles. They get into a fight scene here with some Cardassians, which was interesting. Like we have like the whole moment here where Garrick's waiting to shoot a Cardassian, and you're like, oh, is he gonna do it? And then he does. Cisco's wrestling with another Cardassian. Too bad Worf. He would have been really good here in this scene, because we could have seen some Worf. We could have seen
every scene.
Worf but he would have seen. He's especially good in the fight scenes, and I think you would have done well here.
Those are good Klingon martial arts moves there. That's how you do in a fight scene on Star Trek. But I must leave you now, Jeff of House Nine-ish.
Okay, thank you, Worf, son of Mogh. Thanks for popping in. It was a great getting to talk to you about this great episode of Star Trek.
Good day to you all. It is a good day to dye your hair.
Worf, so funny. Thank you, Worf.
Quite amusing.
Quite amusing.
That was good. I enjoyed that. He's no Dave Mater, but he brings a different energy than producer Dave. Speaking of which, this episode here, so then they're trying to break free, and then all of a sudden, one of the Cardassian guys turns into a changeling and goes up into the ceiling, and when it happens, you're kind of like, oh, okay, what's going on here? Is this like some sort of like the changelings or the founders are screwing with Odo's mind? Like, what's going on here? Again, it wouldn't be a surprise,
And
right?
we're already confused about his character, because he was the original head of security who was supposed to have been gone 2 years prior.
Yeah, exactly.
And he is great, played by Kurtwood Smith.
Kurtwood Smith has got to have a lot of characters. Like,
Yes.
he's got to be up there with Jeffrey
Yeah,
Combs.
he's in Star Trek a lot.
So that's him as the Cardassian guy.
Yes.
Yeah, where he said, he says, I know. What are you going to do about it, Odo? Like that, he's that guy.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't recognize him, but now that you say that's him, yeah, that is definitely him. So I like this episode because it's kind of like, you got to figure it out. It's a little bit like a Sherlock Holmes, detective. That's always the Odo episodes are kind of like this, where it's like a mystery and you got to figure them out. And I always enjoy Odo episodes because they're not, straightforward. They're kind of, like it makes the audience think about what's going on and how, and almost like a problem that needs to be solved. And also with that morality and rules of law and justice and all these different kind of concepts come in throughout his episodes. Like Jaemeel, what do you make of like how Odo starts to try to like contemplate what's going on once, especially he's talking to the Kurtwood Smith character here, and then he figures out like, oh, okay, I am stuck in something, or something's going on that's not quite right.
Very good question. It's one of those episodes where we kind of realize, okay, it's not back in time because it's not lining up. So this interpretation is really weird, and it seems like they don't have control over it, right? And as we continue on, we see Odo's agitation with what's happening, and it seems very focused on his emotions and his feelings about what's going on. I kind of wish they left that the changeling part earlier on before they went back in the cell, because it kind of muddies the water a little bit narratively wise. It didn't need to be there. It didn't even matter once they reset things. We didn't need to.
But they're adding it's Odo himself adding little clues into the story, because there was the head of security is a changeling. Also, at one point, I think it's when they're sitting down to have the soup in the Bajoran area, he literally has blood on his hands. So they're dropping little clues through the episode.
But I felt that if part of the story was that he escaped as a changeling, that would have been one thing. But the fact that escape never happened. So if they showed that Kurtwood Smith's character as a changeling, like in a different part and not this make-believe section, I felt that would have been a lot clearer in terms of its messaging. So it's not the you're absolutely right. It's not the fact that Kurtwood Smith was a changeling. It was a changeling in that specific sequence.
And that he looked like a Cardassian, I thought was interesting too. Like they didn't make him. Once they revealed that he was a changeling, it would have been cool to make Kurtwood Smith look like Odo. And then,
but I think that reveal need to be later on as opposed to at that exact moment, because there was still more of the revelation to go.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, but later on, possibly. Right. But then it would have lessened the impact and clues of him being a changeling. So earlier on, right, and then later, right. So Ashley, you're spot on. Good job.
Okay. Yeah, so then we get this whole moment, once Kurtwood Smith kind of has this whole interrogation and he calls him Odo, and then it kind of flashes again, and it goes into this moment where the three people get executed, but he saves it from being Garrick, Dax, and Sisko, and then it flashes again, and then it shows the actual the actual Bajorans that were assassinated on the promenade, and they kind of show Odo he looks so different when they show him during the actual assassination or the executions. He's got the hood on, he looks so different. He looks almost I don't know, like a conciliary. He doesn't look like he's in charge. I think that's on purpose because he, that's how he views himself. I feel like, but that's the guilt too with him. He should have done something that, because he says throughout this episode, check the ballistics and check this and check that, and and stop being stupid, and this is what you should have done, and you let these people die for nothing. And it pains him. It's like a cop that let it get away. Let a case get away, and couldn't get over it. That's kind of how I see his guilt in this episode.
He probably mulled over all of the facts over and over again. So even though not necessarily all of those things could be true, right? It's like, why didn't you look into more that could have led you down the path to understanding that these weren't the culprits, right? He had 1,000,000,001 reasons why there should have been further investigations, and the fact that it was so easily blown off was his character, who felt so right and so righteous, and right, and that's so he feels like he's getting nowhere because he's getting nowhere with himself.
But I think it helps highlight his youngness too, because we've heard multiple times about how young he is, and this was a turning point for him. This is where he learned a lesson. This is Odo being in his 30s and looking back at the stupid stuff that he did in his early 20s and going, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. So this is a turning point for Odo to become sort of the detective that we always say he's a great detective, but not super great at security.
Look, he was standing right next to those people and they all died.
Yeah. So which we're going to talk about in the end when Kira confronts him.
Yeah, we are. But so I think what Jaemeel said is spot on. That he thought that this would never happen to him. The sense of self-righteousness when he was young, like Ashley was saying too, that and then once it did, and he's looking back on it and how young and how dumb he was. But he's also looking at it with the benefit of hindsight, like, and also the thing about this episode that I find interesting, and maybe Kevin, you can speak to this, is that like I think Odo gets off the hook here. Like, yes, he feels responsible, but the audience member, I feel like I don't know. I feel like, well, the Cardassians were the bad guys, and they're the ones who executed them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that kind of part kind of lets him off the hook as well.
They have to do that because you have to like this character going forward.
Right. Right.
I think what this and what Deep Space Nine does so well is it shows that in every conflict, every war, nobody, no matter what side you're on, walks away unstained from it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And everybody does things that they regret that are not, maybe not good, but sometimes necessary. I mean, this is not a case of necessary, but
just like that's just what occurs during occupations and wars, and it's not necessarily,
it affects everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone.
And it's not necessarily somebody's individual fault, but at the same time, the emotions are absolutely take over you, and definitely affect you, and have a cascading effect on everyone around you.
I was actually, when you guys were talking about the Kurtwood Smith character and being a changeling, I was thinking, this is Odo's brain making it this other
right
character because he doesn't want to reveal what he did. He's hiding.
Yeah,
he did.
But his brain is telling him, like, you were basically a Cardassian.
Yes.
But what I wonder watching this is, even if Odo had done all those, he looked at the ballistics, he re-examined the Cardassian reports, he did all of that stuff he said that needed to be done.
Yeah.
Would the Cardassians have even listened to him? Or would they still have executed those Bajorans just to make an example of them?
Yep.
I don't believe that the Cardassians would have gone, oh, you're right. I think they still would have shot them.
No, they would have said, find who did it.
But
they would still shoot the people.
Or these people are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
I think, Ashley, once again, save wavelength. I think that also this is an important part of establishing his rule of law with the Cardassians as well, because of how curt and straightforward he is in terms of the execution, that you had to, as a Cardassian, look at him and say, he is on our side, or he is swift to find and deal out justice that of our expectations, right?
Yeah.
So when he pulls back after that revelation, right, he still has that respect already earned on the Cardassian side, and he builds up that respect on the Bajoran side. So the end result is the legend that is Odo, fair and neutral, right? But they don't know what the catalyst was for that change.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. I think with Odo too, like, it's kind of, let's get to the next scene where Kira comes in and talks to him, because I do think that is kind of what we're getting at here too, that Kira kind of comes in and says, you're the one guy we all thought was different, and we all thought you ran by a moral code, and but like, he worked for the Cardassians, like, at the end of the day, like that, like I don't, even if like if you look at like the Nazi Germany or whatever, which is very often compared to this, and you had a Jewish security officer, and they tried to straddle that line, at a certain point atrocities were going to occur, just because of the surroundings of what was occurring. And at a certain point, you can have the best intentions, but you're going to there's a theory, like, no matter what organization you join, say you join the police force, or you join an army or whatever, and you go in with the best of intentions, and you want to change that Goliath institution, and you want to make a difference, almost no matter what, by the time you're 5 years in or whatever amount of time, you will be indoctrinated into that group, that authority structure.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a kind of what Odo's also like a victim of here. Like he does have the best of intentions, but at the same time, there's almost nothing you can do. Like you get to a point where it's just you're doing your job, and you work for ruthless people, and you just have to. It seems like like, or else maybe even more people are going to get killed, or maybe you can't always do your job right in these kind of circumstances because it's almost impossible. That's what it seems like to me. But that's what I find interesting about when Kira comes in here. I think she actually handles this scene very well. Like she says to Odo, like, I thought, like, she basically says to him, like, what do you have to say for yourself? And he says, I'm guilty. What else is there to say? And she says, nothing, or maybe a lot. Maybe there's a lot to be said here, because I believed in you. We all believed in you, and you were supposed to be the special person. And I'm willing to at least listen to you. I'm not going to outcast you in one fell swoop. Like, what, Kevin and Ashley, what did you make of this scene? Like, do you kind of see this the way I kind of see it too? Like, where it's, I think she actually comes at it with a lot of grace and a lot of understanding here in this scene, which I actually really enjoy. Yeah, do you see it that way?
I think Kevin and I differ on how we see this scene based on what he said to me. I see it as she's coming in, and it's like the balloon has burst and she's trying to process this new information of someone that she kind of had up on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
But she does, like, she says at the end, like, she's honest with him, and she's like, I don't know what to think. But then at the end, she does say, none of us were innocent. We all made mistakes in this. Right. So, and that's what Kevin was saying earlier, is it doesn't matter what side you are on, everyone's going to do something that they regret.
Yeah, I thought she was kind of harsh on him, given what she has done during right. the war and the occupation. So that's all. Doesn't she say, like, tell me that this is the only one or the only time? And he's like, I can't, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Tell me these were the only innocents.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know.
I don't know. I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's important, because I think this episode is bookended by two different things, where at the beginning it's like, oh, Odo, you were the best. You really knew how to straddle the line, and you were the, you made the best out of a chaotic situation. And like, that line's brought up quite a few times. And I think, you can tell on his performance, especially at the beginning, like he knows that's bullshit. And I think that's a great way to explain, like, all right, like, if we look at certain heroic figures, from history, like, all right, I can show you one. I got one right here. This is Douglas MacArthur. Okay. He was a very, a lot of people look at him as a very big hero, a general in World War II, but he's also responsible, for a lot of atrocities, in Asia, during that time, but he was also very good strategically, and had he has a lot of great quotes. But, like, this is the thing about putting war heroes on pedestals, like what Kevin said, they're all guilty of something at a certain point. It's inevitable. So, Jaemeel, how did you read this last scene here with Kira?
You're absolutely right. Everyone did a great job of eloquently stating the facts. Kira shouldn't have asked him that question, because the amount of people that stood beside Odo and died, yeah.
Yeah.
Were they only innocent? Was that the only innocence?
Really?
No,
it's starting to feel like that's where Odo is most at home.
You should know.
It's what Odo does best.
Standing beside people who die.
It's I feel that she's kind of a hypocrite in terms of, like, not even just a hypocrite. She's kind of foolish in that regard, because the things that she did to survive, she has come to grips with that situation, you would think she would have a little bit of understanding of what he has had to do as well, right? In a position of power where it's so easy to go in one direction or the other. So him walking away at the end of a war, with the respect of both sides, yeah, you're damn right. He's been pretty fair, I think, if we're looking at it that way.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it, Jaemeel. Like I could see how people look at Kira that way, like that she's a hypocrite, but at the same time, I think to me, it's like she was like, I get why they write her the way they do, because she was the resistor. She looked up to people as as heroes that were able to straddle that line too of being friendly to the Bajorans, but also being able to at least help out the Bajorans, but talk to the Cardassians at the same time. And I think that's why Odo was he was the man of justice and was doing the right things, the right thing, looking out for the little guy, the Bajoran. So I understand like the betrayal, like I understand like why she feels that way, but like I said, I think she comes at it with a great deal of understanding in this conversation, even though she's a little judgmental. I see somebody that's willing to listen in this scene, so I actually quite enjoyed. I thought, like, again, it was very powerful, like you guys were saying.
That's kind of always where Kira goes first, right? Like even in the episode with her mother, she's like, she was a collaborator, and she would so she always goes there first. But yeah, it comes around eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
She has quite a few learning experiences about the occupation and about the resistance.
She even in a bunch of different instances is willing to listen to Dukat explain himself.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like the answers, like, and rightfully so. but she's absolutely willing to hear him out in so I always find Kira, even though she's quick to be judgmental, she's also gets to a point where she's willing to like actually listen and figure out the situation and the history, which I commend.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we are ready to get to some double F with Jeff. Okay.
We work back to sing.
Okay, so I've got the fun facts right here, ready to go, fresh off the press. Dave is probably listening to this and not watching the third period. Okay, first we got to put up a quote though, a comment from Dave. Dave says, Dukat says his weakness is that he's too kind to the Bajorans. His role model was Putin. Okay,
possible?
The Cardassians are Russians, and the Bajorans are Ukrainians. Okay. Okay, so all right. First fun fact. This is the first appearance of Elam Garak since the 4th season episode Broken Link, where he was sentenced to 6 months in prison for sabotage and assaulting Worf. I should have brought that up to Worf. Apparently this episode is set 6 months after the aforementioned episode. So that's why we haven't seen Garak in a hot minute. And you think Worf
for attempted genocide,
right?
For attempted genocide, right? You think Worf would have brought that up in this episode, but I don't think he does.
He didn't have any scenes with him, so it's okay.
Right. Captain Lavara, a Romulan smuggler, was named after LeVar Burton of The Next Generation. He directed this episode as a way of getting his name into the show. LeVar.
Interesting way.
LeVar. Okay. I guess close enough.
Okay.
In this episode, Worf refers to Runabout Pad 1. In all the other episodes, Runabout pads are identified by letter, not number. Yes. So clearly Worf doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. We have to get him back to answer to this. Okay. This episode was directed by LeVar Burton, Geordi. This is also not Kurtwood Smith's first appearance with the Star Trek franchise. He, before this, had played the Federation president in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, and he also played anoraks in 2 episodes of Star Trek Voyager in the Year of Hell.
He's great in that.
He is great in that episode. Okay, trinitrogen chloride is correctly named chlorine azide per IUPAC naming protocols. It is known for explosive decomposition under specific circumstances into associated compounds. Okay. This takes place in 2373. This is the first time a character uses the pejorative spoonheads in reference to the Cardassians, taken from the resembling design on their forehead.
Spoonheads.
Yeah, I love Garrick's reaction.
RoboCop reference here in this episode. Kurtwood Smith Thrax is one of 7 actors to appear in the Star Trek franchise. Okay,
Interesting.
This episode has thematic resonance with the second season episode Necessary Evil. Both evoke Odo's memories of life on Terok Nor to reveal a dark secret from the occupation, while Necessary Evil explored dark deeds of Kira's that she had kept hidden from Odo. Things Past reveals a shameful guilt of Odo's that he had kept hidden from her. The final scenes of each episode, both depicting Kira and Odo standing at opposite sides of Odo's desk, while with one trying to come to terms with the actions of the other, are hauntingly similar. Forgot about that episode, but yes. Dax springing Cisco, Odo, and Garrick from the holding cell is very similar to Scotty doing the same for Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in The Final Frontier. Especially the shot of her head poking through the hole and delivering a clever line. So that's a little homage to that movie.
Did she bump her head on a bulkhead on her way out, though?
Right. And also, too bad they didn't sing Row Row Your Boat at the end of the episode.
It's not too bad.
I think it is.
You wait till the credits start rolling before you make that not too bad comment. There's still time. Let's not see it happen.
The identity of the pejorative woman whom Dax assumes is never revealed. Yeah, because they only risked the
he was already taken away.
He was already taken away. Garrick's unconscious body has a nosebleed when he receives a punch to the nose as part of a simulation. Nearly 3 years later, the same idea would be used in The Matrix. Interesting that we called this episode The Matrix. After Neo experiences virtual combat in a simulation, he discovers real bleeding in his mouth upon leaving the simulation. I think there's a lot of comparisons of this episode to The Matrix, guys.
Yeah. Very much so.
Kind of interesting that this episode precedes it by 2 years. And finally, Ishan Shea, Garrick's character, was born in 2328. Gilur Guerta, Cisco's character, was born in 2311. And Timur Landy, Odo's character, was born in 2320. All died in the year 2366, the year this story takes place. And that is it. I think Dave sent over a ratings chart or whatever, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I have to bring it up.
It's true.
Is this it here? Okay.
Bring it up.
These kind of big sounds right here.
Yeah.
I know, it was amazing to hear Jeff get sentences out, like full sentences.
All right, there you go.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so is this the right thing?
Yeah, there's tabs on the bottom. Go to the Deep Space Nine tab on the bottom.
Here we go. Go down to the bottom. Oh, he already has it set up for us. Look at this. Oh, and Dave gives us a 9.8. Would you look at that?
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, we'll start with me. I'm going to give it an 8.8. Real. What do you give this episode?
I'm giving it a 7.5.
7.5. Ashley.
10.
10 for Ashley. Evan.
9.
9. And we don't know what Lieutenant Commander Worf.
7.5.
Is that what you're giving it? Okay. Ashley, do you have ratings for The Assignment or Nor the Battle to the Strong?
Which episodes were those?
Okay. The Assignment was... I'm trying to remember. 1 sec. Oh, The Assignment's the one where Keiko goes crazy because she's got the pop
right.
wraith in her.
Oh yeah, 8.5.
8.5 for that one.
Yay.
And then let's see, Nor the Battle to the Strong is... Let's see what episode that was. That's the episode where Jake and Bashir are like,
right.
on a
That's
medical.
Remember all that awkward Jake running.
7.
Jake. The set. Okay.
When the guy holding his guts in.
Okay.
I don't want to die with my face in the dirt.
I don't want to die with my face in the dirt.
I'm a man on a mission. Get out of my way.
Did you guys enjoy the lack of sound clips tonight?
We got to hear you have a complete thought.
Right.
I think you got sound clips replaced by Worf monologues.
That's right.
I kind of, it was more like improv. I enjoyed the Worf improv.
I had to mute my mic. I was cracking up so much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was good.
No, he was funny. He was right. The Worf is very funny, especially
Quite amusing.
Quite amusing.
quite amusing with the TNG crew specifically.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's it for this episode, but we do have some other things to plug.
Ooh. Plug.
Okay, so I believe on Mondays they do Enterprise at 8. Kevin, how's that going?
It's going. It's a show.
Is it a long road?
It's not as like it's getting better. It is getting better. They promised me the show was going to get better, and it's happening.
Getting from there to here, it's getting better.
I wasn't a big fan of this latest episode, but
all right. Well, maybe one day you'll touch the sky. Okay. Also here on Live Long and Podcast, we have Star Trek Radio Theater. We just completed one with Discovery's own Michael Chan. We also had YouTube's Star Trek star Steve Shives. He joined us. What episode did we do? What was it called, guys? Hide and Q from season 1. Go back and check that out. It's a lot of fun. If you enjoy, we kind of do all sort of wacky voices and we reread the episode, and it's a lot of fun. And we kind of, we do our own quirky thing with it, and it's just throw it in your ear whenever you're working or you're hanging around the house, because I think you'll be cracking up the way we were cracking up tonight with Worf. It's kind of Davan Skelhorn, he joins us sometimes. Jaemeel's on it sometimes. We all come on and have some fun. But that's about once a month. Anything else I'm forgetting on Live Long and Podcast?
Thursday nights we've got Star Trek Discovery.
Right.
And Picard, the first episode of Picard came out, so
right.
That was just done by Jody and Davan.
And there's also Star Trek Prodigy.
Yes,
which is currently on hiatus. It will finish off its first season later on this year.
Yeah, and then Strange New Worlds will be coming.
Yes.
Star Trek, Strange New Worlds will be coming. So that's a lot of episodes, a lot of shows that we're covering. Star Trek Picard, I have caught up on the first episode. When's the second episode there? Is that on Thursday?
Thursday, yeah.
Okay, so that'll be good. We have a comment here. You haven't heard Radio Theater until you put it in the original Klingon. Worf. Well, that's true. Thank you, Worf.
Commander.
Lieutenant Commander. He's got to do Worf on the next Radio Theater. I think that's already been established.
Well, next episode is Darmok.
Darmok in April 5th.
Yes. So
April 3rd.
Yes.
Something like that.
For in tribute of First Contact Day. That's the next one is Darmok. Just check out on Thursday. Dave should have like a version of the sheet and the players all figured out and everything like that. Does anyone know who's playing who?
It hasn't been cast.
Not yet.
Totally. No.
Dave already has it figured out, probably. Or if who he would like.
He's started working on it, but we don't have final casting yet.
Okay. So that's coming up. Then there's also another sister channel, Super Mater Brothers,
Right.
which reviews television shows, movies, and reality television. So in terms of reality television, we're in the thick of it right now. We're doing Big Brother Canada 10, which currently airs on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We weren't able to do a Monday episode, so we'll have extra special on a very special Super Mater Brothers episode on Wednesday, recapping the last two episodes, the one on Monday and also Wednesday's upcoming episode. And then we'll continue on Thursday with the Eviction. We'll figure out the schedule. Just stick to our channel with the exact times of when we're going to be airing. Additionally, this week we have Survivor, which is starting up this week, and we'll have an episode dedicated to Survivor and continue reviewing Survivor each week on Wednesday. But as I mentioned, the reality television portion, Super Mater Brothers also does television. So we've done the MCU from all the way from WandaVision up to the most recent Hawkeye, including we also do the MCU movies. We just did No Way Home. We might do the Batman if people watch it. And we have Moon Knight and Doctor Strange coming up just around the corner. Westworld when it comes back.
Yep.
And Jeff and Dave already did Ozark part one, and they're waiting for part two to finish up the rest of that. So check that out. Additionally, we have Trivial Debates, which is the last Sunday of every month, and where we have three debaters fight against each other in a battle of wits and wills. And last episode we had Jeff, our host here, host that debate where myself went against the most winningest champion, Jody. Spoiler. And Max as well. And this coming month we'll have another. Oh wait. Okay. Why are you posting that? This month, the debaters haven't been confirmed, nor the host. Just keep track of it. We'll have more details about that. And other podcasts related to us, we have Davan's Skelhorn, which is Dave and Jeff's cousin.
Yep.
He has Locutors of Trek. So please check that out. It's another Star Trek podcast. Very high level thinking, but still a whole lot of fun. Where there's different debates and different quizzes on. Takes a different look at Star Trek than what we typically do. Additionally, he has an X-Men the Animated Series podcast called X-Rated, which was just recorded today. I was the special guest for that episode. We did Till Death Do Us Part 2, which is the second episode of the second season. So please check out those two podcasts. Dave's son has a podcast called Let's Talk About Fighting Games under his name, Sam Jerka.
Right.
And he does it with other people whose tagline names I have no clue.
One of them was Paranoia.
Paranoia and Super Smash Seths or something. Right. I don't know. So
that's
they
pretty
talk
good plug, either way.
Yeah. And then lastly, Michael Chan has his podcast called The Hellhounds of Horror. I don't remember what it is. Hellbound. Yes.
Hellbound.
It's
a horror podcast.
Yes, it's a horror podcast where they talk about various horror properties, featuring Radio Theater Zone, Michael Chan. And that's it.
Well, thank you, Jaemeel, for all those plugs. So if you're interested in any of those things, check those out. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Facebook. So we're everywhere that you can find your podcasts, and in your streaming shows. So that's what we're here for. If you want, to some content after you watch the show, we're here for you. That's what these channels are all about. Okay, well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me here for another episode of Nine-ish. It's been real. Until next week, we will be covering the episode The Ascent. So that'll be fun. That is the episode. I don't remember what episode is this. It's Odo again.
Is it Odo and
Oh,
Quark?
this is when Odo and Quark go to the planet and they have to survive. It's just the survival episode with Odo and Quark.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun.
Prepare yourselves by listening to the Kelly Clarkson song "The Climb."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Or Enrique Iglesias, "I'll Be Your Hero."
Yeah,
either one of those songs is appropriate for this next episode.
Would you climb if I told you to climb? Okay,
guys. All right. So until next time, we say live long and podcast. Good night, everybody.